Hey, everybody. Welcome to Challenge Athletes Live. My name is Bob Babbitt, and we have a special treat today. We have the team from Challenge Athletes Foundation and Mission 43 who are taking on the Smoke and Fire 400. We're talking some of the legends, the Mount Rushmore athletes from Challenge Athletes Foundation: Willie Stewart, Kajlich, Lucas Onan, and then Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Skeesick and Mohamed Lahna. It's a collection of some of seriously, the greatest endurance athletes on the planet. How's everybody doing? This is the first time we've done like a 5-pack at the same time. Willie, we'll leave it to you to open up. How you doing, bud?
I'm good, but I was wondering, do I have anything on my face?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you got that. It looks like some Hostess Twinkie stuff over on the right by your.
All
All of it. Yeah.
It's time to take a shower, Bob.
Hey, and so Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Skeesick's first time we've got an opportunity to chat. Talk a little bit about Mission 43 for our viewers who know Challenge Athletes Foundation, might not know Mission 43.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Mission 43 is a veterans initiative that provides veterans and their families employment opportunities, education opportunities, and kind of what this team represents is the engagement side of it. So those are the three big core areas that Mission 43 gets into. And like I said, this team, Smoke and Fire, putting it together is that engagement piece. And it's going to be awesome to watch this team operate.
So Willie, this is over 400 miles. I mean, for you, that's chopped liver because you've kayaked the Grand Canyon, you've won the Catalina Marathon, you've done Alcatraz 15 times, you've done the Ironman, Leadville 10 years in a row. Talk a little bit about the challenges. Over 400 miles, 15% single track, 90% off-road. You've got athletes who are missing arms. You've got athletes like Lucas who's challenged in one arm, and at the same time you've got Mohamed who's a leg amp, and then you've got Wheeler in Mr. Kajlich. How do you do
Big
this
mistake.
event with all big mistake? Willie, talk a little bit about the challenge here about all this.
Well, that's kind of the cool thing about this is that Lucas probably is one of the best athletes in the United States, but he rides his bike with one hand. Andre's missing both of his legs, but he's still one of the best athletes in the world. Mohamed has one leg that works, but he still crushes everyone. My whole thing is that we can do almost anything given the opportunity and access to do it. And then knowing Lucas, Mohamed, Andre, myself, Anthony, it was like, hey, what can we do that we haven't done before that could really test the limits of our abilities? And so that's what we're going to do. We don't know what we can or can't do until we get in the game. And guess what happens? Guess what happens on September 9th? Game on.
And you guys are the first adaptive athletes, right, who have ever attempted Smoke and Fire 400?
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, I'm not worried about Andre. I'm worried about Willie.
Hey, so Andre, you're just coming off of finishing lowest to highest. You guys went from the lowest point in South America to the highest point in South America. You've done a lot of these off-road events where you're basically sometimes dragging your wheelchair behind you. Talk a little bit about what you face in this challenge.
Yeah, for whatever weird reason, I love that stuff. And I also don't just get excited about any old events. And this is, definitely represents something new, different challenge. I haven't done probably this extreme of sort of distance off-road on a hand cycle. I mean, hiking my bike up a short hill is one thing, but when you're talking about, miles of hiking a bike, definitely gives me an opportunity to lean on my teammates a little more from lowest highest. They did probably too good of a job out there, so now I know they're up to it. But also for us, we want to kind of become expert in all these different modes of getting ourselves across continents, and this represents kind of another one. So consider it a bit of a training, outfitting, trying something new. And I mean, I think the big point is like it's all good to say anything is possible, but it is really hard to get those opportunities to kind of find out what's possible. And that's why this is so cool, and having the support of Challenge Athletes Foundation is so rad, because it is unique. It is very unique that I've been able to do what I've been able to do. And it's not me, it's the opportunity and having the support because it takes a lot of resources, you know, to sort of imagine, create, engineer things that are totally new.
So when you look at something like this, you got 41,000 feet of climbing. I think hopefully I'm not breaking that as breaking news to you. 41,000 feet of climbing and all this single trek. I know your guys' goal is to raise, $40,000 for our CAF Community Challenge. When you go into a challenge like this, Andre, do you take a look at the course ahead of time, or do you just dive in and go, I'll figure it out as I go?
No, I bring some paracord and be ready for anything. I mean, first of all, if I didn't go into a lot of those things totally naive about how hard it was going to be, I mean, I did this, you know, Brazil 135. It's like 135 miles, 33,000 feet off road. I would have never gone out there. I mean, on the first climb, which was like 10 kilometers of like 20 plus grade, I don't think I would have showed up to do that, knowing how hard it was going to be. So yeah, going in a little blind seems to help, and just figure it out. That's the exciting part, is like you get there, what's in front of you, you figure it out.
Hey, Lucas, you went and did that lowest to highest. Talk a little bit about the challenge for you trying to ride with one arm throughout that thing.
Yeah, that proved to be pretty challenging as far as a pain scale goes. I was just one arm. I don't have a prosthetic, so we hacksawed off my left handlebar right when we got the bikes, and so because I'm not really aware of it even, so it actually helps with traffic and other things, so I don't run into stuff. But so with the wind, we had a constant crosswind. And normally I can ride no hands pretty easily and I can rest out, but I just didn't really have the opportunity to do that very often. So, I would, like, Mohamed was feeding me. I'd be like, I need water. And he'd come up and, squirt water in my mouth, grab my water bottle and stuff. And Andre would throw Skittles at me or whatever. And, because I couldn't release my hand off the bar. And it became pretty painful at times, like the left side of my back was stressed pretty good. So I'd have to stop and stretch out. Once it got unbearable, it kind of seized up. So I'd just like stop, pull over, stretch out, and then we'd keep rolling. It was challenging. The desert made it challenging just because it's flat and long and 120 miles a day. But you just keep going and pushing and try to enjoy it.
So I'm sure there's points of that are hard. And when you're looking over and you're seeing Andre, who's on a hand cycle, off-road hand cycle, going up stuff that really you shouldn't be able to get up, does that keep you going, knowing, okay, this is tough right now, but look at this guy?
Yeah, I think totally there's an aspect of that. We all keep each other going, like it's you see Mohamed riding with one leg, you see Andre hand cycling it out. I mean, it's cool. I think it's a cool camaraderie that we all bring, and we can all just kind of feed off each other. When one guy's down, it's just like, hey, we're here to help you and support you. And if that's like just a mental push, like, hey, these guys are still crushing, so I'm just going to keep crushing. So totally. Yeah, that's definitely part of it.
And Mohamed, talk a little bit about, you've done so many different challenges, from Ironman to running across the desert. There's so many different challenges in your background. How do you look at this one that's coming up?
So like Willie mentioned, like, we are testing the limit again. There is a lot of unknown in this adventure. Like, we did a lot of riding on road, but like 400-mile off-road, we're gonna have a lot of surprises. So we already know each other. We know our abilities, and we are ready to like get creative and try to pace ourselves very well. Use our I would say superpower to keep the team going forward. So we're gonna see. Frankly, like it's gonna be very hard because it's off-road, and we will see how far we're gonna go.
So back to you, Andre. When I look at you're one of those guys. A lot of athletes, they'll go and do the Ironman, and then they'll try to go faster. You're one of those guys that you choose something and you do it, and then it's done, and you move on to that next challenge. When you did Ultraman, the 3A triathlon, which no challenge athlete had ever done, and you go out there, and on day 3, when everybody's using, they're running, you didn't want to use a racing chair because you thought that was unfair. The guy missing both legs used his everyday chair to go over 50 miles. What is it? There's something in you that makes you want to do something that nobody's ever done before. What is that?
that there's just not an easy, you know, pamphlet to read and like, oh, this is what I need to buy. This is how you do it. And I think kind of going back to my accident, you know, having people tell me what I would and wouldn't be able to do most likely, but having, you know, this goal and sort of vision in my mind of what I thought. And then also just the crazy like fear and uncertainty of, are they right? Am I right? Like what can I do? And just going out there and trying to make it happen. I mean, you know, being okay with heading out there and things not quite going our way. It kind of stinks to go home, you know, feeling defeated after that. But, you know, without risking it, you don't get that satisfaction of, especially with a team, of getting, you know, through something, and what you learn, you know, within going into the unknown and coming out the other side is incredible. You're not going to learn that, you know, sitting around home or doing the same, you know, bike ride every weekend.
Is there a part of you that knows that there's other challenge athletes and maybe kids who are watching what you guys are doing, and they're sitting there hearing the things they can't do, and you guys are changing perceptions every single day? How much does that enter into why you choose these type of goals, Andre?
Yeah, I mean, it is a huge part of it. When I woke up in the hospital, I remember having a little bit of optimism, because I couldn't pinpoint stories, but I knew I'd heard stories of, you know, somebody who'd lost a leg and then gone on to do incredible things. And when I first interacted with Challenge Athletes Foundation, you know, it was seeing, you know, Carlos Moleda and what he was out there doing, and Sarah Reinert and Willie. And it's not just that people are out there being active, but that they're doing amazing, incredible, you know, bar raising things, and keep it fresh and cool. And that's what excites you about what's possible. You know, it's good to just go out and get exercise as well. But it's not as inspiring as seeing, you know, it's like every sport out there, you know, there's a progression, and that's what keeps it, you know, cool and exciting and innovative. And if I have a chance to be a part of any of that, I mean, I just want to do it. But if it has a good effect, then heck yeah.
So Anthony, being in the service for 18 years, and what you guys do is you try to help people transition from service to civilian life. Talk a little bit about how hard that is for a lot of troops who come out of the military. They've had this community around them, and now they're sort of on their own.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, kind of talking to what Andre, Lucas, and Mohamed have kind of alluded to, it's really that brotherhood. When you leave the service and you're transitioning, there's two things that most service people miss. And one of that is service, because they have served their country. They want to continue the service to their fellow man. And then there's also this brotherhood that a lot of people lack. And that's where kind of Mission 43 comes into play, is that they provide that opportunity, that space for veterans to get together to continue that brotherhood. And then with this team and just the partnership, the community partnership we have, Mission 43 has with CAF, you can continue your service. And I would say, in my experience, it's been better than my experience in the military, because you are seeing some incredible athletes, and you're seeing Mission 43 come around those athletes. And it's absolutely amazing to see.
So speaking of athletes, the guy next to you is pretty impressive. So talk a little bit about going out early on when you first met this guy and doing some training with him and getting a feel for how amazing he is.
Yeah, so there's no stop to this guy. When he sees red, you got to get out of his way. But honestly, he's been super supportive. I've never done anything to this scale, and just the knowledge base that he has, his attitude, his demeanor, like, you want to follow him. Like, he's a natural leader, and you just want to follow him. He's and besides that, he's kind of funny to be around, to be quite honest. Yeah, so it's been amazing, and I've learned so much from him.
I feel bad now, Bob.
So Willie, talk about that union between Mission 43 and CAF, and how come that works so well?
Well, a lot of it is what Anthony just said, service. I mean, you don't quit service because you're out of the military. You continue to serve. And the fact is, Mission 43 allows us to do things we normally wouldn't be able to do because we need as many people as smart as possible that can help us accomplish our clinics and goals. And then I just going back to Lucas, Mohamed, and Andre, Bob.
Yeah.
You know, those guys, they're more than just great athletes. They're the role models for that next generation. And that's who we are all in service to. And that's the thing that Mission 43 is. We're bringing the next generation up of people to come and realize that they'll be able to do anything because of the people that did it before them. So I'm fired up.
And none of this happens, right, without the Albertson Foundation. So talk a little bit about that, and either of you guys can talk about what they have brought to the table.
Well, it's kind of funny because, you know, you can almost throw a rock to the Albertsons Foundation where I live.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat that they heard of CAF and they got on board and said, we like what you guys are doing. And we like what Mission 43 does. And you guys are going to do it together, accomplish something no one thought was possible. And the best thing we're doing, most importantly, Bob, is that we're getting on the playing field together as a team to try to work our way through something that Andre, Lucas, and Mohamed have never done, nor I. So, and then with Mission 43 as our backup, or what we call them as the cavalry. So with the Albertson Foundation, we're able to accomplish things that we probably wouldn't have been able to do had they not brought us under their wing.
And Anthony, for you, your beautiful wife, Jennifer, has been such a huge part, right? And when she first started working for CAF, what was your connection with athletes before that, in terms of challenged athletes?
Well, I mean, you know the story of Jen's niece, Bailey. And honestly, that was really my only connection to this community. And again, just watching her as she went through her trials and all of the struggles that she went through, to see what she has become has been absolutely amazing. And again, just like Willie mentioned, the idea is that, like, we are providing an opportunity for these athletes to excel in whatever they want to do.
Hey, Bob. By the way, Anthony went down to Chile.
Yeah.
And went down to the Pan American Games and watched Bailey play in the Pan American Championship wheelchair basketball championships.
That is very cool. And now, Anthony, you realize that you're sort of the rookie here, right? Because you got all these legends of endurance, and you, right?
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying. I'm not gonna lie. But honestly, when the first time I got introduced to the Smoke and Fire was we were down in Hyde Park, which is where it starts and finishes, and we see all these athletes come back, and they're dirty, their bikes are all tore up, they've got bags hanging from it, and we went up and asked them, hey, what are you doing? And they said Smoke and Fire, check it out, and I did. And just to see the pictures and the areas that you travel through, I'm more excited about that, to see Idaho from a perspective that most people don't get to see. And that's another part of it that Willie and I talk about often, is we want people to know that Idaho is accessible. And we want them to know that people can come here and pretty much do whatever they want to do. And again, through the partnerships that we have, we're making it happen.
I love it. Hey, so this is September 9th through 14th, and we're talking over 400 miles of mountain biking, 90% of it off-road, 41,000 feet of climbing. And we started our CAF Community Challenge, right? August 8th through October 18th. And for us, not being able to do San Diego Triathlon Challenge, which Willie has been at every year, not being able to do our $1 million challenge, we need the funding, right? We need to replace the funding so we can help the next Lucas and Mohamed and Andre and Willie. How important is that aspect of this, the fundraising for you guys? Willie?
Hey, I think it's gigantic. Because, Bob, you know, before CF even existed, we were in the dark ages, man. And I don't want this pandemic to throw us back to those dark ages. And the more we get out there and show what's possible, the more we inspire people, maybe the more we'll create the new donor that comes on board and supports CF to make sure that we're able to write those grants that got all of us, every one of us, into this game. And I'm telling you, without that funding, I don't want to see something like CAF dry up. I want to see, because of this time, that we blossom, and we can, but we got to message it.
We certainly do. Smoke and Fire 400, man. It's not often I get to chat with all these legends, and you, Anthony. When you talk Andre Kajlich and Willie Stewart and Mohamed Lahna and Lucas Onan, it's almost like the Mount Rushmore right there. You know, you're going to build this big monument in Idaho and have you guys on there. And then, Anthony, you'll be off to the side pointing at the monument, going, hey, I rode with those guys. They were pretty awesome.
Well, I would say we can just draw our faces in the sand, let the next wave wash it away. And Anthony is hanging out with the right guys because, you know, you talk about us being legends. Like, that's who I came into sport with. That's who I was raised. That's why Ironman World Champions was one of the first races that I did, because you're surrounded by people who are just doing that stuff. And it you know, makes you just think that's normal, and the trajectory is on.
Love it. Hey, thanks you guys for joining me on Challenge Athletes Live. We can't wait to see what happens September 9th through 14th as you guys kick some ass at the Smoke and Fire 400. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.